talked about this for certainly all day today, and I mentioned a day ago that after Friday, when Kyren Lacy's attorney, Matt Ory, was on HTV 10, that wide-ranging 44-minute interview where the Lafourche Parish District Attorney's investigation and the evidence was revealed and discussed. We talked a good bit on Friday about that and all the reaction. Candidly, just doing my job here, felt it an obligation to reach out to both Matt Ory and Kyren Lacy for reaction. I also candidly didn't think that that we'd be able to make this happen, but I'm very pleased to have both Kyren Lacy and Matt Ory in studio with us here as we start Hour 3. Gentlemen, thank you first of all so much for taking the time today to be here. I sincerely appreciate it.
Appreciate you for having me.
Of course. Kenny, can I just start by asking, I'm certain for your family the last 6 months have been an emotional roller coaster. What about the last 4 days?
Last 4 days is almost like getting that phone call saying that Kyren's gone again. It's a whole, ball of emotions roll right back, just like back to day one, and none of the family members thought we would feel like that, but it's something that you can't even control. Everybody felt almost like it was the same day again.
I'm curious as to why it feels that way again.
I can't explain it. It would just have to be one of those things that you would have to go through to feel that. Just reliving all of those emotions again. That's the main thing. We have to, we think we getting through it. We think we healing, and then like something peels that scab back. And, it kind of makes it bleed again. So that's the best way that I can kind of put that as an analogy.
Sure. You have been present on social media since Friday. Why do you feel it's important to be so vocal?
It's important because if you need to be heard, if you're silent, you'll never be heard, And I make sure when I speak and when I post, I try my hardest to post the right things and never hate. Even though we're hurting, we still never want to put that hurt on anybody else.
I think one of the things that maybe was, I don't want to say surprising. I'll say maybe the thing that was perhaps most eye-catching is you defending the, maybe I'm using that word loosely, but the woman who was driving, as we know, was vehicle 2, who collided with Mr. Hall's vehicle. And since a lot of this information has come out, I think maybe a lot of people have maybe shifted to think that young lady, that woman might have been responsible. But you have, in a way, defended her or encouraged people not to go after her. Why?
Not only her, a lot to do with her family. And the family would have to feel a lot of what Kyren's family feel. When something like that, it doesn't just impact that person. The people that are closest to them, the people that love them, that had nothing to do with that actual event, they're impacted by looking at their loved one hurting. So I made a post the other day kind of defending her, and it's crazy because me not even knowing, her dad inboxed me saying that he kind of appreciated, what I said, about his daughter, and come to find out, I've been knowing the girl, I've been knowing her dad for years.
Oh, really?
I've been knowing her family for years. So in that, me finding that, I knew, you know, her family. I talked to Matt, and I'm like, Matt, you know, you think that young lady's gonna get in any trouble? And Matt told me, he just in talking, he was like, Kenny, I'm so confident that that young lady won't get in any trouble. You know, that if she felt like she would get in trouble, I would represent her. Just saying in passing, like that's how confident that he was that, you know, she's not going to get in any trouble. You know, so I just didn't want another family to have to go through the pain that we going through without the due diligence. The process is still not even over, and we don't even know, you know, the total outcome of this. And just like people demonized Kyren before the outcome came, you know, that's kind of an oxymoron to do the same thing right back to somebody else. So I kind of feel like, you know, it's best to let the due diligence be done, let the law take care of itself, and whatever comes of that comes of that. But before then, we can't demonize a person before we know everything.
Yeah.
We have to know everything.
Matt, I know you wanted to respond, please.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, the fact of the matter is simple. I know it upset Kenny. I saw what he posted about him. Like, oh, here we go, right? But there's a lot of truth to what he's saying. When he's asking me about it, well, first of all, her ticket, that's been dismissed, right? Could they actually bring other charges? Sure. Will they, practically speaking? No. No shot. So if that's any consolation to someone, because the truth of the matter is, this is difficult for everybody involved. Everybody involved, right? So, you know, I mean, it's just, I understand where his heart is. Like, I get it. I don't know how else to reassure him, and I can't. I'm not the prosecuting authority here, but I'd be floored if they did. That doesn't mean I condone. It doesn't mean I don't question everything about a statement. I'm not getting into that today. But as a human, I get it, right? So, man, I'm going to be mad at him for defending her. It's from the heart. And by defend, we mean feelings and exactly what they went through. I watched it on social media. I watched somebody get crucified. We all deal with it. I'll get crucified. This girl's getting crucified. Is what it is, right? But it's just, we understand where it's coming from after going through it for some time.
If you don't mind, I'm just going to ask you to pull that mic just a little bit closer. I apologize. On Friday, when the district attorney's findings, the interview that Attorney Ory gave on HTV 10, it feels very much like the public sentiment. Where I think you all had said, I don't want to use it, but if people had maybe convicted in public Kyren, feels like the public sentiment dramatically shifted. Do you feel that way since Friday?
I feel it has, but at the end of the day, people are going to still have their opinions. You know, they can see whatever they want to see. They can see the evidence. They can see actual video. But, you know, people are going to believe what they want to believe. You know, it's nothing that you can do or change. You know, if we looking at the exact same thing on the video and we see the exact same thing, you know, sometimes people are going to have different opinions. You can't change that. Mm-hmm. That's just the way the world is, and it's not going to change. People are going to have different opinions, so we can't change that. That's just the way I feel about that. You know, no matter how I feel, people are going to feel different than me.
Did you have something to add?
I know exactly what he's talking about. It doesn't matter what I say. The statement I just said, somebody's going to come after me multiple. Say, how are you defending? I'm not defending. I'm not condoning. Your statement is your statement. That's not changing. That was done a long time ago. But I'm still a human, sure. Right? And my whole position's been the whole time, this is a civil case, not a criminal case. You know, that's why I tell them, if I was in her shoes and outside of a conflict situation, which I'm hypothetically speaking when I say it, that's a case that I look at going, all right, I mean, I could deal with that too, because I believe it's a civil case, right? I'm not saying I don't believe that you are the primary factor as in her, the contributing, not contributing, you are the primary cause. That doesn't mean I'm not a human. But you've already said what you said. I don't expect that to ever change, and time will come where these people have to answer for it. But they're still humans.
You're talking about the statement she gave that was released by LSP, Louisiana State Police, that body cam footage today.
Yeah, but I mean that amongst others. You guys didn't see everything else, obviously.
Sure.
Right, but in our position, we'll deal with it as it comes. The point is, there's humans involved, and nobody's cutting anyone's slack. Same thing with the officer. I'll catch it all the time. You need to prosecute. You need to be pushing prosecution. They will do their job. It's my job to put the facts in place. They will do their job. I'm not the prosecuting authority there. You think I don't want full justice? Of course I do. Of course. But I'm okay being me on the side too, saying this is reality. There are people's lives, people that he knows. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why he's so affected yesterday. I talked to him after fact, but he called and asked me. And I don't mind telling him, in the criminal world, aside from any statements, I'm talking about if she were to be charged with, Kyren would be charged with. I'd be floored if that happened. But that's not what we're about, right? I'm not here to say you need to be prosecuted. My job is to show you he should not have been prosecuted for negligent homicide, right? It's been my position from day one. It's a civil case, not a criminal case. So, there's a human aspect to it. And when he knows somebody involved, I can't blame him for that.
Gentlemen, we know earlier today that Louisiana State Police did release video, which I assume is part of, and Matt, maybe you can just clarify just so the verbiage, so I know that I don't misspeak here. Part of their evidence, their findings, the video that was released today,
Yeah.
because what you went through on Friday was the Lafourche Parish District Attorney's evidence, correct?
Right, but that evidence that we went through was all part of that package. There's nothing in there I haven't seen, not a thing.
Okay.
None of that surprised me, none of it, nothing. Doesn't change a single thing.
Does what was the reaction to the Louisiana State Police video that was released today?
I have no idea. My reaction?
For you.
My reaction was that's the exact same thing that Matt said was going to happen. He said that's the only thing the only other video that they could possibly show, and it was just showing him the same amount of feet. Whatever the amount of feet was, it showed exactly what he said. He always said from the start that Kyren did pass cars when he shouldn't have been passing cars. But it also showed him after he passed those cars getting back in his lane.
Yeah, I mean,
just like he said.
Travers Mackle, I had done an interview with him today addressing the rebuttal to if you want to call it rebuttal, the response to State Police's video. Look, I saw the video. You'll hear my response to the video. I know the video, that the sound on the video is not in unison with the actual actions. I know that for a fact. That's in the district attorney's findings. I stated it. I read it from the district attorney's report today, right? The witness that came on, of course I know him. That's also the same one that stated that Kyren went through the vehicle.
Cars.
That changes absolutely nothing, right? None of that did. They talked about his attorney he called. That's his buddy.
No, not Kyren. Yeah. The attorney that they talking about that Kyren called, that is Kyren's stepdad.
Right.
Kyren's stepdad. And at the time that Kyren called, I had just got off of the phone with Kyren, and Kyren let you know.
Right.
So we know.
Yeah, like this isn't a surprise. The phone call they didn't talk about before was to Kenny. What they didn't tell you is that's Kyren's little brother's dad who he was with, and he calls him his stepdad.
Right.
He and his mother were together. I don't even know if they were married, but they were together.
They were together. Yeah. Like you
5 to
said,
7
that's
years.
Kyren's little brother's dad.
They talk
All the time.
All the time. But that's not how that was made to look.
Anytime Kyren called me and got any information from me, I told him if he needed to, she could call him too. That's how good I felt about him talking to that guy.
For those that might have missed, the way it was presented today, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that a few minutes after this incident that Kyren called an attorney. What you're saying is that was his stepdad.
Family.
He talks to all the time.
He calls him all the time.
And Kyren had a passenger in the vehicle. That was his brother.
Yep.
Who was never questioned as well in the investigation?
No. Never. Not once. Look, Matt, I'll just keep it here. This is the last time we're getting on air for a very long time. Unless something radical happens. We've done a good job of keeping that at bay. if you think that's all that that I only have so much time in an interview or on air, but if you think that's it, that's not. I mean, look, there's a witness at the scene that I know about that they interviewed that I'm telling you is beneficial to our case. That didn't make it to the report, right?
Why not?
I don't know. You tell me, right? But these are all things that are coming. I don't have a statement from him. I don't have a report from him. There's so much more coming that we can take tiny pieces, but we're not going to sit here and act as if we are just cherry picking what we want. And that's what I addressed today. You're right. We're cherry picking insofar as that I only have a limited amount of time. I hope the entire investigation is let out. That bothers me none. What I'm telling you is what you saw in that video is not what you expected to see, right? When you initially opened it, right? So
The video today from State Police?
when the video yesterday and then the video today, right? But that video does confirm everything that was said. How do you think that we now get the data that we can tell you how far someone is from the accident, how far someone is when they get back to lane of travel? None of this, it was all talked about. I told you he was going in excess of 80. I told you he passed 4 cars. I told you the witness that came in and said the green Charger also stated that he was the one who went in between the two. I told you that. Why is this a surprise? Yet now we're using a video that is noted in the district attorney's report that states it is not in sync with the audio and the video are not in sync. But we're using that now to show that he was closest to the crash when they're telling you it wasn't in sync. You know, so I get it, man. They got to respond. That's fine. But that didn't do anything.
Kenny, do you and I'm being very respectful here because I know we've spoken. There's some things relating to the case that you can't answer, and I'm very respectful of that. So there's things I would like to ask that I know we can't discuss. But Kenny, as a father, and in particular, I know the thing that's probably most jarring for people is the body cam footage of the driver of the gold truck and the state trooper, the coercive nature of the questioning, and then the inconsistencies of what he said on the body cam footage and what is written in the report. I think everybody by now has seen that, and that is the most gigantic question. That's your son. How do you feel seeing that transpire? How do you reconcile that?
You can't reconcile it. You can't bring my son back. No reconciliation. None. All we could do is stay strong and make sure this don't happen to nobody else's child. Ain't no reconciliation. I'm never gonna see my child again. Ever. Ever. So it's no reconciliation. We just want justice. That's it. Justice. Whatever that is, we just want justice. That's it.
What's the next step to wanting justice? And I think most people agree with that. I think there are so many people, that me included, that have real, very legitimate questions and concerns after seeing how this has played out over all the evidence that's come to light. What is, Matt, maybe you can shed some light. What is next? What's the process? What's next?
We need to demand a neutral and unbiased independent investigation of this thing. At the end of the day, look, you never convinced me that what you saw on body cam from suggesting what to say. Why do you need something to fit your narrative? And then someone comes back to you and gives you the something, they stop you, right? That you can see. I'm not telling you this. You watched it. That is not close to what they said. And if you can explain to me how that's okay, I'm waiting for the answer, man, because that's justice. Accountability. What are you going to do to hold someone accountable? Because there's no way around that. Can you agree with me there? There is no way around from what you heard to what was stopped to the statement that was given to what landed in an affidavit. That's your critical witness, man. But we're going to throw smoke over this and show me a video that I knew existed that the audio is not even correct on. You understand? So, look, that's what we do. We demand, we pray for the most sincere investigation that we can get, if that makes sense. That's what we pray for, right? And we pray that people are held accountable and it doesn't happen again. And who knows what we find next, right? Who knows? But that's all you can ask for. I mean, that doesn't happen again. That's what we're after. We're going to make sure this does not happen again, and remember that Kyren Lacy is remembered.
Does that investigation come from the Attorney General's office?
That's what they're saying.
Or is there another place where that can originate?
No, it's going to come from the AG's office. We would hope that somebody else can come in, but per protocol, as of right now, it's the AG's office. And look, we're not here to say they won't do a fair job. We don't know that. I have no reason to believe otherwise, but I will know. I know what I know. I saw what I saw. You saw what you saw, right? So we'll see what comes of that. And we have to put our trust in these people and our elected officials that they're going to do the right thing. And let's see what they got.
Matt, you also said that there's more that you've seen. Why haven't we, the public, seen what else is out there?
There's just a lot of it that you try to keep. There's so many people involved, right? I mean, you try to drum it down to keep it as simple as possible early. There's a time and place for everything else to come out. And like I said, I invite it. They want the whole file to come out, be my guest. You know, it doesn't matter to me. You could dump the whole file out tomorrow. But let them be the ones to do it.
I mean, there's so many questions. You watched the LSP video today, and there's someone on the scene who says there's a broken ankle and 2 injured backs. I mean, it stands to reason that would be Mr. Hall and his passenger. Were they ever spoken to at any point? I mean, there's so many things. You mentioned the ticket for the woman in vehicle 2 that was then rescinded. Yeah. Why was that ticket rescinded?
I don't know, but that's my point. So we don't know, and that was done how long ago now, right? That's why when Kenny asked if this thing's going to be pressed, like, Kenny, that is over. They're not going to go back now. Could they? Sure. Will they? No. But what I do know is that ticket is gone.
You mentioned the gentleman in the video today who was one of the eyewitnesses. He and the lady in vehicle 2 both insisted that the man in the gold truck was stomping on brakes, which we now know from black box forensic data that never happened.
Never happened.
So is that just a heat of the moment thing at a crash scene where someone is trying to piece together?
Look, I'll kind of wrap it up with this. This is how things happen. You see a charger pass. They're going above the speed limit. A crash happens ahead. It's natural to assume he caused a crash. But remember, the very first one, one of the gentlemen you're talking about is one that said he went through. So what do you do with that, right? And then our next one is someone who is behind the vehicle. Do you know what she heard for those first few minutes? You have no idea. You don't know what's suggested, but I would be paying attention myself, right? You go with it. That's how things start. That's how they snowball. But if you just backtrack, you say, well, we know now nobody stopped, nobody stomped on the brake. So you saw this. You saw a car coming at you, but you never tapped your brakes, right? And still, in my opinion, that's where I go back to this is that still doesn't, even in her situation, it needs to be in the civil arena, right? It's careless driving. Unfortunately, it happens every day. That's why I've screamed at the top of my lungs. That's why it's important to talk about that. So it's not defending her. It's simply saying if she's not even charged, now you know what you know. How was he charged? Yeah. And she should. Look, I'm going to answer him honestly when he asks me, is she? In my opinion, no. In the criminal world. That doesn't mean it gives you a pass to say what you said, but maybe she was influenced, right? There's a lot for you to see. You don't know what's going to come out. But we'll let it play its course as we deem necessary.
Kenny, a good place to wrap, obviously, would be an opportunity to remember Kyren, who in the many times I had to interact with him, I was found to be a joyful young guy. Do you feel this is obviously a way where a father is trying to remember his son and to have people know the truth to come out? And I think everyone with a pulse can respect that. But have you thought about how you want people to remember your son? Is that something that's a part of this for you?
No doubt about it. Through this whole ordeal, the people who had no idea of the kind of person that Kyren was, those were the main people that were trying to paint him to be this such monster. But Kyren was a kid at heart. He was a kid. When I say a kid, he could go in a room full of kids and light the room up just because of his energy. Kyren can go in a room full of grown-ups and light the room up because of his energy. He can go in a room full of elderly people and just his energy will light the room up. He just had an energy that you can't explain. And the people who judged him without knowing him, I wish you could have met him. I promise, he would have changed your mind. He wasn't a bad person. Before Kyren left here, he told me how bad he felt for the Hall family. All that he was going through, all what he was going through, he still felt for that man's family. That's on everything that I love. He told me that. He said that they shouldn't have to be going through this. That's the type of person he was.
Kenny, I appreciate you for coming in. On one hand, I know it can't be easy to talk about any of this. But the other hand, I mean, as a father, talking about your son is how you keep his memory alive. And I sincerely appreciate you for taking the time. I know there are legalities and things that we can't discuss and won't discuss publicly. So I very much try to be respectful of that. But I think this is an important conversation to have, and I appreciate both of you for taking the time to come in today and for having it for our audience. And Matt, I know you said that you only have so much time in an interview. I'll tell you candidly, as much time as you want here. You want to talk for 3 hours, you come on, we'll talk forever. And whatever you want to say, and we'll talk for
Matt,
hours on end.
I understand, but the amount of hate that's going around right now, you got to understand that there is a part of me that's human that says it's got to stop. Why do you think he was doing what he was doing yesterday? It gets to me too. That's the whole point of this. So that's why you don't say a lot right now. You're subjecting one more person. Like, justice will come, I promise you. But people's lives are just getting across the board. It's tough, man. Very tough.
Well, it seems pretty clear as the Attorney General has announced she plans to launch an independent review. Clearly, there's more data and evidence that we haven't seen yet that will, I would assume, eventually become public. I don't think this story is, it feels like we're very much just scratching the surface on it. But for both of you taking the time to come here today and have this conversation, I do sincerely thank you. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.